Hi, this is my review of Wing Leader Blitz. This is the first expansion for Wing Leader, and you will need a copy of Wing Leader Victories to be able to play this expansion. So first up, the rulebook. The rulebook is broadly split into a couple of sections. One is that it focuses on the description of play for the main campaign in this expansion, which is the drive on Kiev as part of Operation Barbarossa. And I'll talk more about that, how that campaign works, and how, things I enjoyed about it. But the rulebook basically details how that campaign will work, and it's the campaign play that it focuses on. How there's a series of battles that you'll play through and how they link together. I would just describe the rulebook again, much like the core rulebook, very well written. It's very clear, coming to this campaign new. I remember the first time I played it, going through the rulebook and playing through the campaign with the rulebook in front of me. Yeah, no problems at all. Really, really, really well done. Very well written and edited. Plus, you get a whole bunch of separate scenarios. So in addition to that campaign, and a lot of these are standalone, all taking different theatres of World War II, and a lot of them using the new aircraft counters that you get in this expansion. Plus, in addition to that, you also get a mini campaign with Operation Pedestal. In this campaign, basically, you've got Axis forces that are going to be targeting a whole bunch of surface units in the form of ships. I really enjoyed playing through this mini campaign. You can play the actual scenarios themselves individually, or they can link together, which is how I played it. And as you can see, it takes part of the course of a single day, which narratively is quite interesting. In particular, the evening, for example, there's quite a few different plane types that you're going to be using, and I really enjoyed that. Plus, like I said, you can play them individually if you choose to. Then you get a whole bunch more scenarios. Again, these are all individual. And I played through all these several times now. I really enjoyed. And due to the nature of this type of game, they don't take long to set up, even some of the longer ones, and they don't take a huge amount of time to play either. Some of the smaller ones, for example, this one here, you can play that quite comfortably within an hour. Some of them do take a little bit longer, but yeah, all good stuff. And again, much like the core game, you get a nice piece of historical content and context for you as well, which I really enjoyed. These are some of the additional data cards that you get in the game. This is just some of them. You get a stack more than I've shown here in this shot. What's interesting is that you've got more types of plane per nation in your collection, and secondly, you've got some quite interesting, unique planes. So, for example, we've got some French planes here, and as well as the data card, you obviously get the wings and squadron counters that you'll need for actually playing through the game. Much like the main game, the artwork is awesome, very thematic and accurate to the actual plane type. For both the artwork on and the layout of the cards and the actual counters themselves, very clear, and you get the stats that you need. What's also interesting is that because of the great level of detail in this game, you can appreciate the difference between, say, for example, we got Soviet plane here as a variant, the Type 24, which you can see came came into the war later, and has the ability to be armed with bombs as well. So it's quite interesting. Back of the card has some historical content on the back of the cards there, which is quite interesting. So there's again that level of detail that the game has, I think, is for this type of game, air combat game, World War II, something I greatly appreciate. And you've got some, you get selection of, Soviets, French, Italian. There's also more Allied planes as well. So this is just a very small selection. You get stacks and stacks of these, and a whole sheet of counters for them as well, which is awesome. So this is one of the key components of this expansion is the Drive on Kiev campaign. And I cannot tell you enough how much I enjoyed this campaign. I'll try and do a good job as best I can of describing it. Basically what we have here is an example that I've sort of crudely put together of from my notes of the last time I played through this campaign at this point. What you have is a series of steps for the Axis player to get through to gain victory. And I'm going through these steps. Depending on the outcome will depend on whether you can progress. If you progress, and that'll determine your victory. So at the moment, we're about halfway through and we're at a draw point, which is great. And how that campaign works is that you determine the actual battles that you'll play by choosing a target. You have these sort of chits that you don't see what they are, and it will tell you if there's an effect on the gameplay for that target that you want to attack, and that goes for both the Soviet and the German player. There are squadrons and flights that you have in your sort of planning that you can use in those air battles, and they can be impacted by the sortie track, and basically this degrades over time. So you have these mechanics that interlock together that affect the actual air battles that you're going to be playing, and those air battles are often focused on attacking specific targets. So let's pick an example here. Let's suppose the Soviet player decides to target these Axis trucks. Then they will be using either bombers or air-ground attack to destroy them, and the German player will be trying to stop them, probably using their 109s to try and stop the Soviet bombers. And there's a specific player aid that you're going to be using through this that talks you through the different steps that you're going to be going through. The losses that both sides incurs, which they will, impacts the sortie, which is basically how many planes you have open to you. And it does a really, really, really good job of thematically linking a quite considerable number of battles together on this sort of overarching campaign. Now, as a keen wargamer, I've played Operation Barbarossa multiple times in different game systems at different levels of detail, and this is the first time I've played anything like this campaign, or the beginning of this campaign, which is June to July, from the air perspective, and that's something that was very new to me and very fresh and thoroughly enjoyable. And I felt that the mechanics on how the outcome of the different missions could impact the sortie and impact the planning phases was great. And there's a real feeling of progression as you gain victory points. So we've got here our sort of victory points here. That helps determine how successful the Axis player. And it is very much the emphasis on the Axis player trying to gain victory, and the Soviet player from preventing them from doing so. Probably also worth pointing out, I think this solitaires very well. I think the overall game, Wing Leader solitaires incredibly well. And if you watch my review of Wing Leader, you'll see what I think about playing it solitaire. But in particular, I think this campaign solitaires extremely well from you playing the perspective more of the Axis to get a German victory, and playing the Soviets to stop them from doing so. I thought it worked incredibly well. I would singly say, for me, all the extra, playing cards and details is great, but this is what made this expansion for me. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it, found it very engrossing, and played, an air battle once, a couple of them in an evening over the course of a couple of weeks, to go through the campaign. It depends on what the results are. You might play more or less missions, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's extremely good, and really brought those battles to life, I felt, from a narrative point of view. So this is one of those missions from the other campaign, the mini campaign, Operation Pedestal, and I just thought I'd talk about the game and what this expansion brings, and just using this example now. I've got this in the middle here so the camera could focus on it. Ultimately, Wing Leader, it is what it is. The map is a big expanse of blue to represent the side-on perspective of the action. And this is a game where you must not judge it by its cover, although the actual cover art of the game and the expansion is awesome. And what I mean by that is the action that takes place because of the sort of style of the map. So what we've got here, we've got some Italian CR-42s, and they're going to make their way over to these Axis ships here and attack them. They're being defended by, we've got a wing of Fulmer and Martlets over there. We've got up here some more Allied planes going to intercept some Italian bombers who are supported and covered by some Italian fighters. And this is one of the things that I like about the game. There's this rich narrative that comes through the gameplay and the detail of the actual gameplay as well. For example, I've got this card here. This is from the Fulmer. This is one of the new cards that you get in this expansion. And what I like about this is what I like about the actual, the main Wing Leader game is that it's a very detailed game, very authentic, very historically researched, and I appreciate that. But I also appreciate the mechanics of the game, and for a game that is very detailed and for all that, it actually flows very straightforward, and I enjoy that element to it as well. So some concluding thoughts. I really enjoy Wing Leader. I enjoy it for its detail. I enjoy it for the mechanics of the game. They all make a lot of sense. And I did another video on the actual Wing Leader game. So if you're not familiar with the game, check that video out first. What this expansion does is bring, I think, two really new things, and a third which adds a huge amount more content. How I think about this expansion, I absolutely loved the Drive on Kiev campaign. I thought it did a really good job of adding all these new mechanics into the actual campaign play. It doesn't actually add many more mechanics into the actual battle section, but the campaign section I absolutely loved. I found it really engaging, an extremely compelling campaign to play through. Because of those mechanics I mentioned, because of how the result of the battles would impact that sortie track, the importance of the planning, some of the blind chip use of the game, trying to get those victory points, and the play rate you get and everything for that, and the rulebook just made it all very clear on how to do that. It all made a lot of sense. I also loved the mini campaign, and even though that doesn't have all those mechanics, it just creates that one day, which I thought was thematically, narratively, absolutely brilliant. Enjoyed that. So you get two different levels of campaign, and I enjoyed that. Obviously, and then the last thing is all the new content. So new cards, new planes. You get a stack of them. Again, just add more variety, more depth to the game, more historical content, which I absolutely love. I would go so far as to say, I think this is one of the finest expansions for any wargame that I've got, because of that campaign. For me, that is, You know, I really enjoyed Wing Leader. Just the base game, absolutely loved that. But that, for me, that Kiev campaign, that Operation Barbarossa campaign, just really lifted it to a whole new level for me. And it is partly because, like I said, I've played Barbarossa so many times now as a wargamer, but always from the ground perspective. To play it from the aerial perspective was absolutely great. So yeah, big thumbs up from me. No surprise, as you can probably tell. I thought this was absolutely great, and it's not an expensive expansion. It comes in a big Ziploc bag, and I felt that if Wing Leader is a game that you've looked at but maybe put off by the detail of the game, I wouldn't, honestly, don't be, because it does a really good job of explaining all the mechanics for you for such a detailed game. And that campaign, for me, I think is utterly brilliant. So yeah, high recommendation. Thanks for watching as ever.